I've been working in all financial markets for all my life. Deutsche Bank approached me and say we were ready to grow, but they said they're ready and they're looking for somebody to really help to grow the business in Thailand.
You're the first call.
Yeah.
Welcome to The Bank Tellers, everybody. My name's Zach Anderson Pettet, VP of Fintech Strategy here at Money 2020. That's the most awkward part of the whole thing. I can finally look at my guest and welcome you, Pimolpa Simaroj, which, as I said before, really fun name to say and just really good to meet you. Welcome to the show. And let me say this first. Chief Country Officer, Bangkok branch. Just to get the title out there, everybody knows who we're talking to and what we're talking about.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. Let's get that a little closer to you. They're kind of awkward and you end up having back problems by the end of it. But yeah, just get a little close to it. So let's start with you and a little bit with the bank too. But give us a little bit about kind of your background, how you got into banking and just how you reached this spot that you're in today.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I've been working in all financial markets for all my life, but in different product, different sector. I actually started with the Thai Bank as a management trainee at Bangkok Bank. It was 1995. Now you can guess my age. And then, we moved to security firm, Jardine Fleming Sanakom. So I did private banking. And then there was a credit rating agency, Fitch Ratings, came to Thailand for the first time, and they want to recruit somebody that really have on the ground knowledge.
I bet that was interesting.
Yeah. So I'm lucky. Actually, every organization I moved, I got a chance to do new things, right? So that's how I get to learn variety of products, variety of markets. So I was with Fitch Rating for, I think, 3 years, and then Standard Chartered took me in as the capital markets team. Mm-hmm. From that, also my ex-boss at Standard Chartered moved to Siam Commercial Bank, so he asked me to join him at Siam Commercial Bank. So I was there 10 years in Siam Commercial Bank as a head of wholesale banking. Until 6 years ago, Deutsche Bank approached me and say, we were ready to grow, and they're looking for somebody to really help to grow the business in Thailand.
You're the first call.
Yeah.
I love that. Before we get to the Deutsche Bank side, I'm curious about the Fitch piece. And we don't have to go into a ton of details, but I'm just curious what that was like to stand up and just kind of starting something like that is, so data heavy and world renowned in so many ways and kind of going 0 to 1 in the new geography. I'm sure you learned a lot.
Exactly.
It was probably quite an experience.
Yeah, exactly. We even set up the office ourselves, we even ordered telephone, ordered refrigerators and chairs and everything. Okay. So, as I said, every move that I made, I got a chance to learn new things and mostly to build a business. Mm-hmm. So that's how I really get into on the ground working, front to back, learn the operations and everything. And probably that's make me here.
Yeah, It seems, I've obviously looked at your background beforehand, and one of the things I was kind of assuming before meeting you was that you have a very good understanding of the entire financial ecosystem. Like it seems like you've touched every piece of what a bank would do, be it commercial, consumer, wealth management, any of that, right? So it does make a lot of sense that you would end up in the seat that you're in today. Tell me more about kind of the specifics on the Bangkok side of Deutsche Bank. Like, is there anything, not is there anything, what's different? Is there anything different? And kind of what does that look like? And how long has Deutsche Bank been in Thailand?
It's 47 years already. I think we've been only focused on corporate banking, large conglomerates, clients, international. We set up here basically to start with bringing European companies into Thailand 15 years ago.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So we want to serve them here. And now we start to have a lot more on a Thai corporate doing business in Thailand and outside of Thailand. I guess our strength, again, we don't want to compete with Thai banks. Mm-hmm. We actually add value for something they don't have. For example, any cross-border transactions, right? The strength we have is really the footprint. You see, we are a global bank. We have almost office in almost every big countries. And that's how we serve the clients. Sometimes the Thai companies coming to us because they don't have knowledge in other markets, right? Mm-hmm. They want partner with us and they want a trusted partner that they can talk to.
Yeah.
They want to invest in US, they want to invest in Korea, they want to invest in Vietnam. How do I manage my risk? How do I manage my currency? All these things we can help add value, which I think the Thai banks also cannot do that because they don't have the footprint in our markets.
Makes sense.
Opposite way, something that really local. We don't want to do that as well, right? Because obviously Thai banks will do it better than us. So again, we play on our strength and try to support each other. Some of the Thai banks actually also our clients, right? When
Makes
they go
sense.
off board.
That's very interesting. I did not realize this. I think that actually may be the first time that I've, outside of like a correspondent bank or something like that,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
not.
first time I've ever heard a banker say we don't compete with the,
Yeah, I know.
which makes a lot of sense. I mean, the pie is large,
Yeah.
right? And you have a very specific
But
set
you need
of-
a scale, right, to be
Yeah.
able to run locally, and we're not set up for that, right?
Yeah.
You cannot be so good in every single piece
Yeah.
of your product. So let's again play on what strength you have. Similar that we just talked about the fintech. We partner with them, which way they're good, which one we are good, and then we partner together.
What do those partnerships look like?
Well, for example, again, they're very good at client
Yeah.
front end.
Yep.
They're fast development,
UX,
UX UI, faster onboarding process. But the way they set up, they don't have like global footprint, for
Right,
example.
right.
If they want to make, say, support cross-border payments for the customers, they need to manage liquidity, they need to manage currency risks. They don't want to have traders in everywhere.
Yeah. And it's not a core competency they have internally, and they
so
don't
we
want to
partner
build
with
it.
them. They outsource that back to us. They get the best rate. They get a best pool of liquidity and manage online with us. So that's how we play the partnership.
It seems like, I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, kind of what's the secret sauce, but it seems like a big part of the secret sauce is actually just kind of knowing your lane and then making sure that you're helping people in the other lanes when it makes sense.
Use the network that
Yeah.
you have really.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, we're legacy bank, we're too huge, we are not moving anything. It's actually, there's a lot of positive part that the new banks cannot do as
Yeah.
well. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was before we started recording that we were kind of talking about the power of product market fit versus the power of distribution market fit, right? And you can build the most beautiful app that's ever existed, but if it gets in front of one person, maybe not changing the world.
And I think the world has changed. You don't want to compete until you die, right?
Yeah.
And when you see many of the fintechs that get consolidated somewhat, because they need scale and they need to keep the cost down.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like we've gone through some cycles of like very strong competition between fintech and banks.
Yeah.
And then we're going to kind of cooperate for a minute and then we're going to compete again. But now it seems like we're entering the
find your way.
age of, just full
Exactly.
co-opetition, I guess, not really full cooperation. There's some competition.
Fintech
but-
themselves, right?
Yeah.
Some actually doing similar things. So I would expect at the end of the day, maybe top 10 survive and they just consolidate or something, to make them scalable in the future.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the other things about this is that, some of the things that those apps that maybe didn't get the wide distribution
Exactly.
have given a lot of learnings. And I mean, there's a reason that, fee-free trading is pretty much ubiquitous now that,
I know.
and overdraft fees are mostly gone, things like that.
And we were saying that the cost of switching is almost zero, right? So basically, if you don't like this one, you can immediately change a digital bank to use another bank.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need to travel to close the account to the branch and
Right.
no more.
Yeah.
So you can do it online. If you don't like it, you use the other one. If you like this one, you continue to use this one. So at the end, you really have to be good,
Yeah.
to be able to really serve evolution of
Yeah.
the human preference.
Yeah, it makes sense. One of the questions we like to ask is kind of like how you think about innovation inside of the bank, but it almost sounds like the way you think in your specific portion is supporting the innovators and kind of giving them extra powers.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say the bank also innovate, having
Of
more
course,
innovation all along, right? It's just that, again, our focus is more on corporate banking. So we modernize our system. Of course, we, ask the clients to be more digitized, use our online. But as I said, the clients are large conglomerates. They're also 50 and 100 years as well. So they also carry their own legacy, right? So whatever we move, we need to ensure we don't interrupt existing service to them.
Yeah.
right? So it's more like a journey together. You know, we talk to clients, say, okay, we want to stop using cash, for example. We want to stop using check. What do you do? What do we do? You know, we kind of align the interest together, and they're very supportive. They want to change. Obviously, they cannot change overnight, right?
Sure.
Maybe it's tied with their system, ordering, procurement, merchandising order. It's the whole complex of
There's
ecosystem.
a soup of confusion.
Yeah,
It's
the suppliers of suppliers have using the same paperwork all along or something, right? So it's a journey we see, and it's moving pretty fast. But anything inside our bank, we do improve, like, you know, processing timing. We use AI to really help us capturing,
one of the questions I was going to ask is kind of how you're thinking about AI and if, you know, where you are using it.
Yeah. So internally, yes, right. But externally with clients, mostly we partner up with some fintech that we think is perfectly matched with us.
Is that like customer service chatbot type of stuff or what?
Yeah, for example, we actually just announced a partnership and invest in the company called Data Mesh. So it's a merchant solution. So it's kind of technology that create what we call orchestration layer to really convert the payment type in any local currency in a regulated zone.
That,
like
the consumer doesn't see, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this happens all in the background.
Yeah. Instead of we try to capture every single country of how they pay, you know, the domestic QR code, for example, a normal payment channel.
Yeah.
This one will help you to really convert. So it's actually to support the fast growing e-commerce business, so they can onboard merchant in any country and use this as a, you know, technology conversion, make a payment easier. So that's how we you know.
Yeah, it sounds like making innovation is a key, but making the process more seamless,
exactly.
but not like obfuscating as much of that complexity as you can. It sounds like not having the consumer have to deal with more buttons or new this.
Exactly. They don't know.
LLM
they can use any payment method, and then we process the rest on the back, right? And especially when you do cross-border global network payments, we do carry currency position everywhere in the world. This technology fintech, they don't want to have, you know, traders in US, traders sitting in Korea. You know, we do have that. So we kind of outsource that to us.
Yeah. Well, the global why would you try to build that intensive a global infrastructure
and you
yourself?
get the best rate from us as a wholesale.
Yeah.
Right. So we see the trend would be like we more like a wholesale kind of support, and then you know, retail kind of facing.
That makes a ton of sense, and also feels like it creates a ton of, we're talking about Deutsche Bank here, so I don't think we're worried about staying power, but I think creates, especially in this specific geography, creates an immense amount of staying power and immense amount of probably goodwill as well. I would think, like, I imagine you have great relationships with the rest of the banks, with the regulators across
and this is how we stay relevant to the market, because all of this set up, you know, instead of making it negative that, it's too big, it's legacy. In fact, this is a positive way that you really help develop the digital banks and technology.
Yeah. It seems like you get to be Switzerland, but also make money. You know, it's like it's best of both worlds sort of thing.
Right.
Let's transition a little bit into you. So I'm curious, having been through a lot of what you've been through, if you had to describe your leadership style, and the question that we normally ask is if you had to describe it in 3 words, but I kind of hate making people do that. So.
3 words. I would say walk the talk, right? That's the main.
You did 3 words.
Yeah,
nice.
3 words.
That.
Yeah. So, you know, all the leaders have this concept in mind. You know, you need to be positive thinking, innovative, agile, adaptive, and all the buzzwords. But if you know, no matter you communicate to your team, if you really don't show them leading by example, they're not going to trust you. To me, it's even better than communicating. You really show them who you are, and they gain, you gain the trust from them as what you have shown them.
Yeah.
So that's really my word. You know, you have to show them who you are. You know, before you're telling them. In theory, you need to be adaptive. You need to be agile. You need to, so walk the talk.
If someone told me that I had to be agile at work, I don't really know what I would do other than like some squats. I think I'd do like some side jumps or something, you know.
And then people always say, okay, you try and error, fail fast, learn fast, right? If you say that, but then if your staff like fail the trade, for example, and you go like, oh.
This is not an industry. I think if one thing we've learned, it's not an industry where we want to, fail. Well, we do want to fail fast, but we want to fail fast in the sandbox. We don't want to fail fast within real currency or anything along those lines. Yeah. So you mentioned AI earlier, and you mentioned walking the talk. I'm curious, is there any kind of push internally to have just more of your staff using AI in their day-to-day as a co-pilot or anything like that? Is that something that kind of just the Deutsche Bank world of employees is thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the concept is there. But again, the difficult part is that how we gathering all this data, right? So we've been using, say, internally, it's more to improve operational efficiency, shorten the process. For example, we use in credit scoring system, we plug in industry information, we plug in clients information and generate certain recommendation, right?
But in an explainable way, I would imagine.
Yeah, but we still have to use person, right? At the end of the last mile process to really look at
that. I guess that's kind of what I was saying, right? Because the idea of underwriting based on purely AI, I think, is the thing that scares everybody so much. But it sounds like what you're describing is you found spots in the underwriting process in order to
save the time to plug in something really no-brainer. You just use computer to really do it. And they could also produce recommendation, but then you have to really read whether it's an accurate one or, the data is the right one as well. Right?
AI is definitely still hallucinating. That is still a thing that is definitely happening.
And we also do, I think every bank have been using that for, say, fraud protection.
Of course.
So we use the system to really capture behavior of payments, transaction, if it's repeating things or, there's some behavior that predict that potentially this is fraud or something. So we stop that and use a human again to really screening up. Literally, we have captured many scammers really in Thailand. So that really helped us instead of use 10 person just looking at a screen, we use this as a predictive kind of event.
It makes a ton of sense. And also, I actually had a conversation, this was a few weeks back, but with somebody in a fraud department of a bank that will remain unnamed, but similarly sized to Deutsche, worldwide, yada, yada, yada. And she was telling me how much easier her job has gotten and actually how much more interesting. Because before she was like almost like reading the dictionary, and now it's like actually reading a murder mystery novel or something like that, right? Like you actually get to dive into the case, understand all the right
you
things.
save a lot of time, really, and more real time, analysis, right? Just like a case that I mentioned about credit scoring. You imagine in the past, we have junior sitting, key in financial statements, do some research on industry and key in and then do some projection. You don't need to do that as a basis, right? So you keep really the value added on with a human to really screen. And
it sounds like a lot of automation is happening, but it doesn't. It sounds like at the end of the day, and I think this is still true across every organization I'm aware of, but the humans are making the actual strategic decisions, pushing the right directions, this, that, the other.
I think the trust is one thing. But what were you just saying? In the future, the more machine gets to learn, the smarter it is, right? So the more these things get developed, you get more data and data, then the accuracy is going to be there. And maybe rely less on human. But as of now, I think at the end of the day, the responsibility is still with them.
And the other part about, like, you think about a mortgage or a wealth advisor or something like that. Like the first fintech startup that I worked in was basically in the U.S. 401k, but pension, whatever you want to call it, a robo advisor for retirement accounts only through work. And it was, we had a chat function, but we didn't even have a phone line that anybody could call in, right? So we had automated all these things, and we thought that it was it was a great product. It had, we really
good idea,
did good things, but it was two actual wealth advisors that had been sitting across the table like this, from people for 25 years. And they were like, well, we're just going to take actually everything that we've learned from the last 25 years and just put it in an app and take all the humans out. And I think the big fallacy was, people still need a human. Like, even if we fully 100% trust the AI at the end of the day, I need to talk to you about my mortgage, because I don't trust the screen. I know the screen's right. I know the math works, but I need you to tell me, right?
Exactly.
So even 100 years from now, it seems like probably that's still going to be
But what at least you have a backup data, right? You still advise the client on more sophisticated products or more complex, but at least you get some kind of basic recommendation, real time, from all the gathered information around the world. That's give the what we call relationship manager to talk to the clients more.
Give them superpowers almost.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious. So diving into you a little bit more. It's not, I mean, based on the fact that you did an internship in banking, like straight out of university, sounds like you've known you wanted to be in finance for a while. Was that the thought, or did you ever have thoughts about going a different direction?
Actually, no. When you're junior, you just finish the school. You don't really know what you want, right? I guess some of my friends in banking, so they just, why don't you try, and that's it. Yeah. So as a start with banking, and then it gets, into that better and better, and that's how I'm here. But if you ask if I choose, if I got to choose at that time, I don't know. Maybe in tourism industry or something, because I like traveling myself. I like to see new places. I like to, go to different countries. Appreciate little small things, learn the culture.
Food, whatever it is.
Maybe I'm in hotel management or something. I don't know.
Or maybe you should come work for Money 2020 because we travel a lot.
Really? Okay.
Do you get to do you travel much for your I assume so.
Not that many anymore, because now you do everything online, right? And clients also open for online meetings. Right. In the past, you really need to fly in, you really need to do face to face, but now with even senior level of clients, they say, okay, online, Teams.
Yeah. The world has shifted. That whole that thing that happened in 2020 changed a lot. If you want to meet
clients very senior level, you really have to go face to face. But now they kind of accept this is a polite way to do as well, not just face.
It's not rude. I get you. That's a good point. I mean, pre-2020 it was. No. Yeah, even in the U.S. it was a little rude, I think, at that point, and we do not put anywhere near as much value on politeness. Yeah. So I think that actually is really interesting. I'm curious about kind of your learning style. So, you've, like I said, been through a lot, done a lot. I'm sure you've learned a lot through just osmosis of the jobs you've been in. But how do you go about learning about AI or, blockchain or what, these kind of new things that you're starting to have to think about? And maybe you have to think about them a little bit less based on the kind of bank that you are, but I imagine it's still something you're thinking about.
I mean, personally, because I need to, I like all these new things, right? Yeah, so I get myself to learn really and attend the event like this, to really see what's going on in the market. Or maybe, the bank may not be into that stage, but at least you know what's going on and you prepare yourself. Again, doesn't matter your business or yourself, but how to stay relevant, how to keep yourself having value to the industry, to the market. You have to keep learning.
I love
doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah. And I feel like it also doesn't matter what you're learning about, right? Like the breadth of it is like you can go learn about industrial manufacturing and you'll probably learn something that'll apply to your day job. Yeah.
Even it's not your job, but you learn something.
Yeah. And also the world's a fascinating place, so why not just learn about it? Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. All right. So our closing question, and you can take it really any direction you want, but if there was a, young individual wanting to end up as a senior executive banker one day, be that in really any geography, what advice would you give to them?
I would say start to come out with your comfort zone, learn everything you can. When you're junior, it doesn't matter how much money you make, right? It's actually your learning curve is the most important, right? I start with very, very low pay, but I learn a lot actually from the low pay base because you get to do every single thing. They use you to do every single thing. Some people say, I don't want to do administration. And exactly, this is what you learn, right? And you know how to move things forward, upscale and move faster, how do you change things, right? So, I guess some new generations may look at, I want to fast growing. I want to get high pay. I want
CEO is my first job. Yeah.
First year, jump already. But every single year, every single move, you learn new things, right? And you don't be afraid to get assignment to the new product or to new function. Some people say, maybe I cannot do it. And if I fail, what do I do? Don't worry. Even you fail, you fail.
But you learn something.
You learn something.
Yeah, and you probably won't fail next time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And believe me, the failure you have give you the most lesson compared to the success you
100%. And I think that's, I mean, not only good advice for kind of, you know, aspiring bankers, but really good advice for aspiring founders as well. Because I think what your background, I think, is a really, really good example of, like, if you ever did want to go start a fintech company or go start your own bank or something, like, you now understand every aspect. You know where the problems lie, right? And if you went to your point on, you know, you end up in customer service, you spend a year and a half there and you realize that this piece of it's so broken, go start a company and fix it. Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's really good advice across the board for young individuals. Be curious, learn stuff, and
step
go
out from
build.
comfort zone, you know, do new things. Don't be afraid. Yeah.
I love it. That is a beautiful spot to end. Thank you so much for the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll have to do it again, do a check-in sometime down.
Okay.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.